Hey guys, and welcome back to News to the Sonic, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more. And the recent PlayStation Showcase was amazing. There were quite a few highlights in that showcase that really stuck out to me, specifically Phantom Blade Zero, which actually looks pretty good. But we're not here to talk about the other games. Let's talk about the one that saved this showcase, because it wasn't anything spectacular or grand or anything like that, no pun intended, but the one that saved the showcase and is the one game that we've been anticipating is Marvel Spider-Man 2. And we're pretty much going to go over this entire new gameplay trailer that we just got, which is a little over 10 minutes long, including that Kraven intro that we got at the very beginning, which threw us all off from the start because we didn't know what game we were looking at. Just when we thought that it was over, we got hit with the brand new Marvel Spider-Man 2 gameplay trailer, and it opened up in the jungle with Kraven the Hunter, Sergei, going after or looking for somebody who's an equal to him. And let me tell you, it completely caught off my guard that I started literally yelling and screaming in just overall, like, sharing my excitement. And it was a crazy live stream. I really enjoyed it. So, like, the live stream is uploaded for you to rewatch if you want to watch the whole thing. And if you don't feel like it, luckily I was able to clip that 12-minute segment of my reaction of the Marvel Spider-Man 2 trailer and re-upload it, so that way you guys can take a look at it there. But let me tell you, everything I saw exceeded my expectations. There were things that happened that I wish that didn't happen, which is the black suit, which is something that we were expecting in the Marvel Spider-Man 2 sequel. And for whatever reason, some people actually doubted that we were going to get that suit anyways. And I don't know why, but we did. And it really did exceed my expectations there. But one expectation I didn't have was that they were going to go in the classic route, which they seem to be doing so, with the exception of like the layering, which appears to be armor, and some parts of the black suit seem to appear to be alive. And I can go on and on talking about it, but this video would probably exceed like 20-25 minutes, and I don't want to do that. So let's go over to the PlayStation blog, where Insomniac Games actually breaks down the game and the story beats here and there. They don't reveal everything, but we pretty much get an idea of what to expect in Marvel Spider-Man 2. So the PlayStation blog starts off with Marvel Spider-Man 2 gameplay revealed, and this is the follow-up to the smash hits, and this lands on the PS5 in the fall of 2023, this year. So literally a few months away, and we're going to be getting the game. So it's a banner day for Spider-Man fans. We're delighted to finally show you the very first ever gameplay of Marvel Spider-Man 2 and the next installment in our original Marvel Spider-Man franchise, which will launch in fall of 2023. There's a lot to unpack about today's gameplay, so let's highlight some of the big stuff. So the Great Hunt begins, and yes, Kraven the Hunter is confirmed to be, if not probably, the main villain, and I'm still leaning on the idea that Venom is not the main antagonist of the game. So as many sharp-eared Spidey fans noticed, including myself, I already knew from the beginning we were getting Kraven in our announcement trailer in 2021, Kraven the Hunter. This version makes his debut appearance in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and he's in search of an equal. That spells bad news for the inhabitants of Marvel's New York, including a rogues gallery of villains and the Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Between the start of Kraven's hunt and an all-new symbiote threat to Earth 1048, our heroes have their work cut out for them. And indeed, because Kraven actually sets off to New York with his men and all of his advanced technology to go on the hunt, a massive hunting spree, in order to search for his equal, and that's all he's doing. So he's just causing chaos, and something tells me that this game is going to be very intense in terms of violence and story beats. So let's get symbiotic, and that's the next part here of this blog. We don't waste any time. Bursting through the basement doors is Peter Parker, our original Spider-Man in this story, who needs no introduction, but what he's wearing perhaps deserves one. He's donning the highly coveted, iconic, and beloved black suit, and he's more than ready for a fight. Now, before I continue on with this blog, I just want to say that me and a few others, including Comic Blast Keenan, if you watch him, you should totally check out his channel. We were hoping that we didn't see the black suit. For many reasons. We wanted to be surprised when we first donned the black suit in the game. Maybe perhaps like a little tease or a piece of the black suit, or only partial or something like that. We would have been okay with that. But I feel like we got a lot, but we didn't get everything, because we've seen things like this before where we get a gameplay trailer of a game, then we come the actual day of the release of the game, there's some changes that happened that we didn't see in the original gameplay reveal trailer. So I have a feeling that's the case for this as well. And also, being that Peter Parker already has the black suit, we never got to see how he acquired it, and there's got to be somebody or something involved that we don't know about. But I'm thinking like since he's probably still looking for Harry Osborn or investigating this Harry Osborn sickness, I'm thinking that he broke in somewhere, perhaps Oscorp acquired the black suit by accident, and we're going to see that transformation there. So they're holding off on that. But this probably takes place somewhere around early to mid in the game, if I had to take a guess. Moving on. So beyond serving our looks, our symbiote-bound hero has some new tricks up his sleeve. We're no strangers to the Spider-Man knocking heads, but never like this. He's much more aggressive and punches certainly aren't being pulled. Symbiote tendrils angradize Spider-Man's silhouette, slamming foes against hard surfaces, dealing no mercy to Kraven's hunters. My advice, get cozy with the L1 button because you're going to love it. And that's another thing I noticed. The UI looks a lot different, and also the L1 button does not obstruct the view of the gamer when playing Marvel Spider-Man 2. So in the previous Marvel Spider-Man games, both Marvel Spider-Man and Miles Morales, whenever you would press the L1 button, the gadget wheel would actually appear in the middle of the game, kind of obstructing your view of the action that's happening in front of you. In this case, it's actually at the bottom, so you can switch between different gadgets, gears, abilities, symbiote abilities in this case, and it never obstructs your view, or it never takes you off of that immersion that you already have in the game. So moving on, the super popular suit can strike fear in almost anyone who comes face to face with it, but Kraven's isn't just anyone, and his highly trained hunters aren't afraid of a brawl. Fret not, new combat abilities can neutralize our enemies, our new headstrong opponents with a little finesse. Strike back with the aggressive parries to gain the upper hand, or cast a web to shunt enemies between a hard place and a harder place. You can also activate a classic dodge to get out of danger, but don't get too comfortable. Some attacks can't simply be dodged and will require to parry to properly evade them. Our animators put the work to deliver a much more impulsive Peter Parker, fitting for the symbiote bonded to his person without sacrifice his combative finesse. New takedowns humble even the most rugged enemies, and new combat animations push Spider-Man's limits. I mean, did you see what Spider-Man did to this one guy? And of course, the blog is referring to this picture here where Spider-Man just shoved a guy against a tank with a bunch of symbiote tendrils and left him stuck to the tank too with a lot of symbiote goo. So I thought that was pretty cool and it looked neat. And I think the combat is pretty reminiscent of that of Spider-Man Web of Shadows. So I think they did definitely borrow some elements from that game, but still made it their own. And in Marvel Spider-Man 2, we're putting perspective on the black suit and giving it the story it deserves. And I'm sure they're doing it just fine. And I think Insomniac is definitely going to do it justice. And in this installment, we're really delving into Peter's personal relationship with the symbiote and how it affects those closest to him. More miles per hour. Speaking of which, this sequel features not one, but two playable Spider-Man heroes, as Miles Morales returns in Spider-Man 2 and is a key player in our story. In this demo, Miles is in Harlem, hot on Lizard's tail. Speed is on the essence in many ways than one. First, get a glimpse at the near instant switch between both our playable Spider-Man. And if that wasn't enough, traversal gets a significant speed boost in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Cue the web wings, which is something I totally did not expect them to do, but I thought it would be neat. Some people in my comment section and also in the comment section of other content creators who do what I do actually theorized that they would be bringing the web wings to the Spider-Man in this game. And I'm glad that they actually included it, which is a really neat traversal thing. You don't actually have to get all tired and bored about just only being able to swing or do, in this case, a Venom Blast jump with Miles Morales. Now you can also traverse with the web wings, which I think is really neat as well. And there's a lot of other things that confirms my theory, which also, if you notice, the way Peter Parker interacts with people, including Miles and Genki, he actually has like this really nasty attitude towards them. The way he's, teaming up with them, he's starting to sound like he doesn't really work well with others. And I think that's the effect of the symbiote that's really taking onto him. He is dark, and Yuri Lowenthal is delivering an A+ performance when it comes to having that aggressive, nasty, Batman-y Dark Knight kind of voice. He just sounds really dark, and he just sounds really pissed, and he sounds like someone who just has no patience whatsoever. So Use wind tunnels between skylines to move with haste and behold the capabilities of the PS5's console's SSDs as you soar above the concrete jungle, zipping past all manners of cars, buildings, and people, and even pigeons. And if you thought traversal in our first two games was exhilarating, just wait until you experience it firsthand in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and you're bringing down the warehouse. After a brief flight across town, Miles has tracked Connors inside the Harlem Fish Market. By the looks of it, Kraven's hunters are making a move on him, so it's time to clear them out. And in Marvel Spider-Man fashion, players can approach encounters with stealth or fists of fury, or both. Regardless of your approach, there are new gadgets and abilities that complement different playstyles. One of the new gadgets we're excited about is the web line, a new way to sneak around the environment to get on the drop of enemies. Cast a line over a couple of hunters and watch as Spider-Man performs a dual takedown, a Marvel Spider-Man's first. So that's really neat. I'm glad that they're expanding upon like the stealth mechanics here, and they're including even gadgets to help with those new stealth mechanics. And in the original Marvel Spider-Man game, stealth wasn't always 100%. Stealth only worked in the first part of an actual takedown area. So you would go to a warehouse or an area where there's a bunch of enemies, and you would get different phases of enemies appearing after you would defeat each phase. The stealth only worked in like the first, 6, 7 enemies, and all of a sudden that activated an enemy encounter, and automatically they knew where you were from the start, which is something I didn't really like. I wish stealth would always work 100%, and then if enemies spot you, that's only because you revealed yourself to them. But once you go into hiding, they lose track of you, and I would want that in this game. So I'm glad that Marvel Spider-Man 2 will be able to give us the advantage or the ability to choose to take down our enemies in a stealth fashion or in a combat fury fashion. And I love that Marvel Spider-Man 2 is going to have this feature in this game. So like as mentioned before, Miles Morales has also some new abilities and gadgets at his disposal. On the gadget front, we showed off the Web Grabber, a new gadget that pulls enemies together to an isolated spot. This allows Miles to chain one of his new abilities, the Thunderburst, unleashing an electrifying ground pound against a group of foes. You also saw a glimpse of the Chain Lightning ability, which has shocking radius of effect on the nearby enemies. That Thunderburst looks completely OP. At this point, I think Miles Morales is kind of broken already in the sequel because he's got that new form, Blue Electricity, whereas in the first game, and even in the first initial trailer of the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game, had a little bit of the yellow and the blue. But in this one, he's sporting the entire new Blue Electricity, which seems to be dealing a lot more damage than ever before. And I think he's broken. Once again, he's pretty OP. And also, Peter Parker's kind of like matching Miles Morales at this point with his new acquired symbiote suit. So between Peter's new symbiote abilities and Miles' newfound blue bioelectric powers, each Spider-Man has their own unique set of skills that can be upgraded via all new individual skills tree. Our heroes share technology, train together too, so we also included a shared skill tree that offers parallel upgrades for both. Now, here's a question. When you gather skill points, if you spend them, does that also include wasting points for, like, let's say Peter Parker or Miles Morales? Allow me to elaborate a little bit more. Say you have 5 skill points available to spend. When you use them up, does that also count for Peter Parker? Does Peter Parker have his own skill points to spend? And does Miles Morales have his own skill points to spend? Are they shared? You let me know in the comment section if you know the answer to that. Anyways, moving on. The Lizards in details. As Miles tracks Lizard through the fish market, our environments are sure to activate your spidey senses, as our world is richer, denser, and packed with details from the particles to improved textures. Yes, definitely notice the difference in the world textures and how New York looks a lot more dense and has more boroughs to explore. We already confirmed that Queens is now explorable, and I think Brooklyn is explorable as well. I've done plenty of theory videos talking about how we would want the map to be a lot bigger, we would want to explore more boroughs, and we're exactly getting that thanks to the PS5's hardware. Moving on. Lighting also gets an upgrade, casting more dramatic shadows and reflections along the walls and pipes. Meanwhile, spatial 3D audio creates unique soundscapes all around you. Further, we're upping the immersion in Marvel Spider-Man 2 with our signature use of the DualSense wireless controller, including a range of haptics and spectacular use of the adaptive triggers. Whether you're sneaking through interiors or exploring our city streets, Marvel's New York is brought to life in ways only possible in the PlayStation 5 console. If you notice, some of the commentators actually pointed out that there are actual NPCs, people, inside of buildings, something that was clearly missing in the original Marvel Spider-Man games, the first two. Now, if you look carefully throughout this gameplay trailer, you can actually see people through the windows inside of buildings, so allowing New York City to feel that much more rich and full. So be greater together, working together with the Spider-Man must pursue Lizard and fight the hunters who seek his capture. Unfortunately for them, Kraven is well equipped. Boats, aerial transports, and weapons are all eyes on the Lizard. The great hunt continues along the East River, one of the new areas you can traverse in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and the action is tight. Miles dismantles vehicles in his wake while Peter Parker leads the chase from afar. You'll seamlessly switch between both Spider-Man across a variety of story moments in Marvel Spider-Man 2. And that's a key phrase that I've been wanting to actually talk about. In variety of story moments. And I actually theorized this before in a few videos in the past. I actually theorized that we would only be able to switch between Peter Parker and Miles if the story requires it. And I think that that is the case in this, according to the blog. I don't think we're going to be able to 100% freely switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales in this game whenever we feel like it. It's only when the story requires it, because again, I think this is actually Peter's game mainly. Although Miles Morales does play a huge part in this game, the focus is solely really on Peter for the most part. We want players to bask in iconic team-ups elevated by our signature set-piece moments and experience a story from the perspective of each Spider-Man. Give me what I desire. There's no combination of words that can wholly convey how excited we are to finally show you Marvel Spider-Man 2 after all this time. We're excited to give you the first ever glimpse at what we've been working on all these years, and we hope you are as thrilled as we are. I am definitely thrilled for sure, 100%. We know you have been patiently awaiting more information about the game, including when you will be able to play it at home. While we can't confirm a date today, we are on track for fall 2023 and hope to be able to share a final release date soon. Stay tuned for future updates on Marvel Spider-Man 2, including edition information and pre-orders. I'm definitely going to get whatever edition they're selling because, you know, it's Spider-Man, and I'm pretty sure whatever this edition they're going to call it, whether it be the Venom edition, the Black Suit edition, the Black Suit collection, the Black Venom edition collection, whatever it is that they're going to call it, I'm definitely going to buy this because it is definitely going to be worth it, and this game looks beautiful. Now, to some of you guys who are saying that, oh, the graphics don't look that impressive, it doesn't look too next gen, or there's not much of a difference from the original one, I think you are wrong. I disagree, but I can understand where you're coming from. Now, what I'm saying is that while maybe in my eyes, I think I can actually see a difference because the difference is pretty distinct in my opinion. I can actually understand where you're coming from. It doesn't look that much close to like that trailer that we got initially back in 2021. I was expecting the visuals to look like that as well, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I do see the improvements in textures, in the lighting and the shadows like this blog states. And remember, Marvel Spider-Man 2 does not come out until the fall of this year, so Insomnia Games has plenty of time to do any tweaks or edits or fixes to make the game that much more polished and to make the game look even better. So anyways, that's all I have for you today. I'm sorry it was a very long video, but I'm pretty sure you won't complain because the more Marvel Spider-Man 2 content I have to deliver, I think you guys will be satisfied. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, click on that bell notification so you all don't miss anything. And as always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.
Will one of you finally give me what I desire?